Welcome back to Football Daily for this week's transfer talk, coming at you on a Friday. With the transfer window now shut in Europe's major leagues, today we're going to take a look at some of the players that didn't get their move, what went wrong, and how their season might play out. And where else to start than one of the biggest transfer sagas of the summer? With Kylian Mbappe's contract at PSG set to expire at the end of the season, the issue was seemingly simple. Will he stay or will he go? Could the French giants tie the 22-year-old down to a new contract or let him go in this window? After all, they wouldn't let him leave on a free, would they? At the beginning of the summer, club president Nasser El-Khelaifi even went as far to say Mbappe is going to stay with PSG. We're never going to sell him, and he'll never leave for free. And that was all despite swirling interest from Real Madird, the only club that the 2018 World Cup winner said he would ever leave his current club for. So with Mbappe having reportedly turned down a number of separate contract extensions to remain at the Parc des Princes beyond 2022, Los Blancos eventually made their first move last week, bidding €160 million for the superstar. Unsurprisingly, Les Parisiens rejected the offer. According to Goal, Florentino Perez followed that up with a €220 million offer for Mbappe, on a par with what PSG paid for Neymar 4 years ago, and it would have seen them turn a profit on a player with just 1 year left on his deal. But once again, PSG proved they don't operate in normal ways other clubs do, turning down such a big deal, instead preparing to lose their number 7 on a free next year. Sure, it allows us to see the front line of Mbappe, Neymar and Lionel Messi this season, but is that really worth it? From a footballing perspective, yes, 100%, as PSG look to overcome their Champions League hoodoo, but of course from a financial standpoint, not at all. Now it looks almost inevitable that Mbappe will simply sign a pre-contractual agreement with Real Madrid in January, 6 months before his contract expires, as what will by then be 5 years in Paris comes to an end. And a successful stint it has been, with 198 goal contributions in 175 appearances, or one every 69 minutes as a PSG player. We want to know what you guys think though. Do you agree with how PSG have handled the Mbappe situation? Let me know in the comments below. To the Premier League now, where a lot happened, or rather didn't happen, at Old Trafford on deadline day. With the two big money acquisitions of Jadon Sancho and Raphael Varane in recent weeks, supplemented by the return of one Cristiano Ronaldo, you'd be forgiven for expecting that Manchester United would try to balance the books by letting a few players go. However, with the exception of Daniel James leaving for Leeds United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side didn't sell a single person. So who were the main names linked with a move away from the club? Well, Jesse Lingard had been long linked with a West Ham United move after a successful loan spell last campaign, but the Hammers refused to meet the £25 million valuation for the 28-year-old. Instead, they spent an initial £26 million on Croatian international Nikola Vlasic from CSKA Moscow, with the Englishman now providing another squad option for Solskjaer. Anthony Martial rejected a last-minute move to Lyon, instead wanting to fight for his future at Man United, despite now competing for time on the pitch with both Ronaldo and Sancho. If his performance against Southampton is anything to go by, the 25-year-old may come to regret his decision to stay in Manchester. Forgotten man Donny van der Beek had agreed to join Everton on loan for the season, but according to the Dutchman's agent, Solskjaer blocked the move, saying the 24-year-old will get his chances this year. And finally, Kieran Trippier will be remaining in Spain after United failed with an £18 million bid for the right-back. Atletico Madrid were unwilling to budge from the £34 million release fee for the 30-year-old, which as a result means Diogo Dalot couldn't complete his loan switch to Borussia Dortmund. But despite these players not leaving the club, United fans, you've got to be happy with how this window played out, surely. Let me know in the comments below. Another Premier League club hitting the headlines on the final day of the window was of course Chelsea, with Saul Niguez arriving on loan from Atletico Madrid. The big move everybody expected to happen though was the arrival of Jules Kounde from Sevilla. The centre-back, who had already turned down a move to Spurs this summer, had a release clause of €80 million, and ultimately the Blues' failure to meet this was why this move died. According to Sevilla sporting director Monchi, Chelsea's sole offer for the 22-year-old came just over a week ago and was worth €50 million, quite a way short of the quoted figure. It even emerged on deadline day that Kounde could still end up at Stamford Bridge if the club stumped up an extra €15 million or so. As you know by now, they didn't. So what does that mean for Kounde? Well, Chelsea are unlikely to drop their interest in the Frenchman and could even make a more suitable offer in January instead of waiting until next summer. However, if Kounde's performances stay at the standard we've become accustomed to, other clubs could well stump up the release fee and beat Thomas Tuchel's side to the punch. Although Kounde has apparently now singled out Chelsea as his preferred destination. One name that could have been on the way out of Stamford Bridge though was Callum Hudson-Odoi. The 20-year-old had been heavily linked with a loan switch to Borussia Dortmund, having failed to appear in the Premier League so far this campaign under Tuchel. Put simply, Chelsea were unwilling to let the winger go, and the England international now has a fight on his hands for game time, whether that be at wing-back or further up the pitch. From West to North London next, as we take a look at what's going on at Arsenal. They signed defender Takehiro Tomiyasu from Bologna and saw both Hector Bellerin and Reiss Nelson leave on loan to Real Betis and Feyenoord respectively. But none of that was really the big news of the day coming out of the Emirates, with Ainsley Maitland-Niles picking up a disproportionate amount of airtime. After seeing a loan switch to Everton break down, the 24-year-old took to Instagram to express his frustration, writing, "All I want to do is go where I'm wanted and where I'm going to play." But that didn't help the midfielder engineer a move away, despite Arsenal open to letting him move on. He would go on to have clear the air talks with Mikel Arteta and will remain at the club this season. How much he will play though is a different question. Another player not going anywhere is Eddie Nketiah, with the likelihood now being that the England under-21's record goalscorer will leave on a free next summer. A fee had been agreed with Crystal Palace for the 22-year-old, but the player and club could not agree personal terms. Looks like another year of playing third or even fourth fiddle in the Arsenal front line for Nketiah. Staying in North London and turning attention to Spurs, where to say it's been a hectic summer would be an understatement to say the least. Daniel Levy went through a number of managerial candidates before setting on Nuno Espirito Santo, who has gone on to lead the club to the top of the Premier League with a 100% record at this early stage of the season. Then there was the Harry Kane situation. The 28-year-old believed he had a gentleman's agreement with the club that would allow him to leave the club this summer should he wish, despite signing a 6-year contract in 2018 that didn't have a release clause. However, Manchester City never met Levy's £150 million valuation of his captain, meaning Kane is set to stay with the club for the foreseeable future. Is Kane destined to remain at Spurs for the rest of his career though? Well, it does seem like that, with the striker expressing a clear conscience regarding his actions this summer. It's hard to see his valuation coming down in the near future either, meaning he might not be able to leave the club until his contract expires in 2024. Let's hope Tottenham do enough for him to win that trophy he so desires. Spurs were also keen on signing Wolves' Adama Traore, which would have seen him reunite with former boss Santo in London. However, the Spanish winger was rated at £50 million by his club, with sporting director Fabio Paratici initially proposing a loan move with a £40 million option next summer, before making an approach worth £30 million this summer instead. The 25-year-old, who has 2 years left on his deal and has repeatedly declined the opportunity to extend it this past year, is set to be a key part of Bruno Lage's squad at Molineux. Hopefully for their sake, his contract situation can be resolved shortly. We'll round this episode off with Erling Haaland. Whilst no club made a deadline day push to sign the Norwegian international for Borussia Dortmund, a lot of deals already made this summer really set the landscape for what his future may hold next season, when that bargain release clause of just €75 million becomes active. The only club strongly linked with making a move for him this window solved their striking issue when Romelu Lukaku made his return to Chelsea for £97.5 million a few weeks ago. Meanwhile, as we already discussed, Real Madrid's eggs are firmly in the Kylian Mbappe basket. Barcelona will still be in a financial crisis, and perhaps bizarrely, PSG have never been strongly linked to the 21-year-old. So that leaves 3 sides, Bayern Munich and the 2 Manchester clubs. Bayern had been emerging as a potential suitor for Haaland, but are unlikely to meet the wages demanded by his agent Mino Raiola. So it leaves a straight shootout between United and City. The red half are hoping Cristiano Ronaldo can lure Haaland to them as they make him their #1 target for next summer, whilst the blue half are pinning their hopes on Pep Guardiola and the romanticism of the youngster following in his dad's footsteps. It could be another very exciting window next summer, that's for sure. But where do you want to see Haaland go? As always, you know where to stick your response. But that is all we have for today's Transfer Talk episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. A little roundup of the window. If you want to stay up to date with all the rumours around football, then make sure you're subscribed to Football Daily. And if you want to see more content like this and more Football Daily stuff, click on screen right now. And as always, guys, don't forget to like the video. Bye.